The Galactic Academy's Environmental Adaptation course was legendary for breaking even the most confident cadets. Professor Zelthor, a crystalline from the frozen moon of Arcturus 7, took particular pride in designing challenges that pushed students beyond their comfort zones. Today's test was simple in concept, brutal in execution: navigate a three-dimensional ice maze in under 10 standard minutes. This simulation replicates conditions on 73% of habitable worlds during their glacial periods, Zelthor announced, his crystalline body refracting the harsh lights of the training facility. Species that cannot adapt to frozen environments are considered limited in their exploratory potential. 23 cadets from across the galaxy stood at attention. Tall Valorians with their triple-jointed legs. Squat Rocktharians with heat-generating biosacs. Sleek Aquarians in their temperature-controlled exosuits. And one human, Jake Martinez from Earth, wearing nothing but standard academy fatigues and a confident grin that made his classmates nervous. The maze materialized before them, a towering structure of pure ice, slick walls rising at impossible angles, platforms suspended over frozen chasms, pathways that twisted in defiance of comfortable geometry. Somewhere in that frozen labyrinth was the objective, a pulsing beacon that needed to be retrieved and returned to the start. You may use any equipment from your species' standard survival kit, Zelthor continued. Begin when ready. The Valorian went first. Talzais was considered the favorite, her people evolved on a world of perpetual winter. She equipped thermal spikes to her feet, magnetic grips to her hands, and advanced cautiously into the maze. Within 3 minutes, she'd made impressive progress, carefully calculating each step, each handhold. But the ice was treacherous. Engineered to be unstable. At the 7-minute mark, she slipped, caught herself, but couldn't make the final approach to the beacon before time expired. Next came Durokar, the Rocktharian. He activated his biosacs, generating waves of heat that melted footholds into the ice. Clever, except the water refroze almost instantly, creating even more hazardous conditions. He barely made it a quarter of the way through. One by one, cadets attempted the maze. Some froze up entirely, paralyzed by the slippery surfaces and disorienting angles. Others made decent progress but ran out of time. A few suffered minor injuries, nothing serious, but enough to require medical attention. After the 17th failure, murmurs spread through the waiting cadets. Maybe the test was impossible. Maybe this was one of those academy exercises designed to teach humility through failure. Then Jake Martinez stepped forward. No equipment? Zelthor asked, surprised. The human carried nothing except what appeared to be a pair of modified boots. Just these, sir, Jake said, holding up what looked like primitive bladed attachments. Ice skates. Standard winter sports equipment from Earth. Confused whispers rippled through the alien students. Sports equipment. For a survival test. Proceed, Zelthor said, intrigued despite himself. Jake attached the skates to his boots, tested the blades against the ice, and smiled. Then he pushed off. What happened next would be discussed in academy halls for generations. Jake didn't climb the maze, he danced through it. Where other cadets had struggled against the ice, he used it. His blades carved clean lines across the frozen surfaces. He built momentum on straight sections, then used that speed to glide up curved walls, defying gravity for precious seconds. When he encountered a vertical section, he didn't try to climb, he found an angled approach, built speed, and launched himself upward, using centrifugal force to stick to the wall long enough to push off toward the next platform. The alien cadets watched in stunned silence as the human treated the deadly maze like a playground. He spun around obstacles, jumped gaps with casual grace, and even performed what looked like a completely unnecessary mid-air rotation just because he could. At the 4-minute mark, Jake reached the beacon. At the 5-minute mark, he was halfway back. At 6 minutes and 43 seconds, he slid across the finish line, came to a perfect stop that threw up a spray of ice crystals, and held up the beacon with a grin. Humans. Zelthor said slowly, have recreational activities that train you for frozen environments? Oh yeah, Jake said, breathing only slightly hard. Ice skating, ice hockey, figure skating, speed skating. I grew up in Minnesota, basically frozen 6 months of the year. Kids start skating before they can walk properly. It's just fun. Fun, repeated Durokar weakly. You train for hazardous icy conditions, for entertainment. Well, we also have skiing, snowboarding, ice climbing, polar expeditions. Jake started counting on his fingers. My cousin does this thing called ice cross downhill where you literally race down a track made of ice with jumps and turns and. That's enough, Zelthor interrupted, though his crystalline structure seemed to pulse with what might have been amusement. It appears humans have turned one of the galaxy's most inhospitable environmental conditions into leisure activities. Jake shrugged. I mean, if you can't beat the ice, might as well enjoy it, right? Back home we have this saying, if you can't take the cold, stay out of Minnesota. He paused. Or something like that. The other cadets stared at him with a mixture of awe and disbelief. Here was a species that not only survived frozen environments but had developed hundreds of ways to play in them. Death worlds weren't just their home, they were their entertainment. Tal's eyes approached Jake cautiously. Could you teach me this skating technique? Sure. Jake said enthusiastically. Fair warning though, learning to skate involves falling on your ass a lot at first. But hey, that's half the fun. Professor Zelthor made a note in his data pad, Humanity, classification update recommended. Species has weaponized recreational activities. Approach with caution and proper safety equipment. As the class filed out, Jake called after them, same time next week? I'll bring hockey sticks. Trust me, you haven't lived until you've played full contact sports on ice. The alien cadets exchanged nervous glances. They were beginning to understand why humans had earned their reputation across the galaxy. They didn't just survive impossible conditions. They turned them into games.